We are here. Welcome to halftime. The Kings lead 59-55 at the end of 2. Joining us shortly is Jerry Reynolds. Grant, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good. It's so great to be with everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Game 1 of 82. Pretty good half, 59-55. Let me get your general thoughts before we get Jerry on.
You know what? I thought the Kings defense looked really good. I thought they were active. Offense, not bad. Free throws still a problem. But 11 assists, 11 turnovers. The Kings should lead by more than 4 points.
All right. We bring in Jerry Reynolds. Jerry, thank you so much. We are really happy that you're going to be joining us again this year at the half. So it's great to be able to look at you and give us your general thoughts on the first 24 minutes.
Well, yeah, just listen to Ryan. I have to agree. I really was very impressed with the defense out of the box. I thought the first quarter, I thought it got a little bit sloppy there in the second half. But, considering the first game, I thought pretty well played. The only negative, as good as DeRozan played, sometimes, as he's dribbling, he really puts the ball on the floor a lot. A lot of guys really just standing watching. You're going to have to get a little movement off his dribble, I think, besides just him looking for a shot.
Guys, Minnesota's a team that's projected to be at the top of the West. In other words, competing for the top spot. Certainly, most people have them projected as a 4 seed. And you're looking at a new look Minnesota team after the trade. Julius Randle, what a half he had, huh, Ryan?
Incredible half, Grant. Did a lot of creating for himself. Minnesota not really having a creator on the floor. Conley has not been effective, but definitely has stepped up for him. Jerry, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think that's it. I think this Minnesota team can be probably as good or better than last year. I thought when they made that trade, they really made it with the idea that they could go small and do better job against Dallas or Oklahoma City when it counted and not play Gobert so much, because Naz Reid and Randall really is big. They're big enough and they're athletic enough. And like I say, I think with them, they're counting on DiVincenzo to give them a little more leadership and guard play there. He hasn't been very good, but he was awfully good in New York last year. And I think they'll settle down. They're early in the season. So I think they're going to be really good. And, that's what you're going to get in the West, a lot of good teams.
Guys, the big news this week for Sacramento was the addition to the practice and ultimately in the game action of Kevin Huerter and Trey Lyles. Huerter started. It looked to me like he was really just trying to find himself, Jerry. I mean, he has not played basketball in a long time, going back to last year with the shoulder injury. Ineffective, only took 2 shots, missed them. What did you see in him?
Yeah, exactly what you saw. I mean, really just a guy that hadn't played any preseason games, had a couple of real practices. So, he's searching for his game. That's why I was kind of surprised that they started him. I thought it might be easier to bring him off the bench and kind of give him minutes, to kind of build him up to his where they want him to be. But, I thought Lyles actually, I was a little bit surprised. I thought he played pretty well. There again, you can't expect a lot out of guys who haven't played a preseason game or hardly practiced.
And thank goodness for Malik Monk, Rhino.
Yep, huge spark off the bench, Grant. Definitely brings a different aspect to that team with the pick and roll. Good stuff there. Spreading that defense out makes it tough for Minnesota to guard.
All right, so what are we expecting here in the second half, Jerry? Let's talk about some keys that you see. Based on what you saw in the first 24 minutes, what do you think is going to have to happen for the Kings to win this game? And for those of you that are joining us on X or on YouTube, it's great to have you. Give us your final score predictions as Jerry's giving you his keys for the second half. Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I think the key is going to be that really Minnesota's only got 2 really shot creators. That's Randall and Edwards. And so, the Kings can make them work for their shots. The other guys really are spot-up kind of guys that'll play off those 2. So defense on those 2 guys will be a key. And I think, Keegan Murray may have had the best half of any King, I think, when you look at the total game. So defending those guys, and then I think just getting a little more movement. I'd like to see them go through Sabonis a little more, get movement off the ball a little more. And I think the Kings will have a great chance to win.
Yeah, Yeah, they've got to keep Minnesota off the offensive glass like they did in the first half. Keep them to one opportunity, only 2 offensive rebounds in the first 24 minutes. And also, the Kings need to capitalize a little bit better on the turnovers. Only 14 points off of 11 turnovers. If they turn that up in transition, I think we'll see a little separation.
Here's what I'm looking forward to. Last year, even within games, we saw a lot of inconsistency. There weren't many times when we would come on the post-game show and go, wow, the Kings had a really good 48-minute game. And I think with DeMar DeRozan, that's one of the biggest things that I'm looking for this year in terms of improvement. I'm not expecting the lulls that we saw last year. So for me, I know it's early. It's only the first game, but I'm going to see if the Kings can put another good half together.
Yeah, I agree with you, Grant. I think DeRozan is really a guy that can, I think, stop runs. Not only can he get a
Bingo.
shot to draw fouls, and that's something that we saw the Kings really give up a lot of long runs at times where teams would get back in games. So there again, I'm just hoping that we see some of that here in the second half.
Yeah, completely with you. And I want to see them pick up the pressure a little bit defensively. They've done a really good job pushing Minnesota off their spots and initiating offense outside the 3-point line. Pick it up a little bit more full court. They're making them uncomfortable.
And here's something else we can look forward to. Assuming that this game is close with 3 minutes left or 2 minutes left, and I think there's a good chance of that happening, we're going to get an early peek of how Mike Brown wants to run the offense, because there are 2 Mr. Fourth Quarters on the floor, and they both can't have the ball taking the final shot, and that's Fox and DeRozan. And that, wouldn't it be interesting to see how that unfolds on opening night?
Yeah, I think there's it's a work in progress. I think that there'll be some feeling out, and then I wouldn't be surprised, certainly down the stretch of games, for Monk to be out there with DeRozan and Fox, have three creators, guys that can go get their own shots, because Sabonis and Murray can play off of them, they pretty easily. So this will be a good test. Obviously, one of the best teams in the West. They'll be there all year. So Kings close out the game, and the last 5 minutes, we're going to have a ball game. Pretty sure of that.
Yep. Ryan, Keon Ellis went from starter to bench and only played 7 minutes. Are you surprised at his low minute total in that first 24 minutes?
I'm not, Grant, because Coach Brown's getting guys in, getting guys out, throwing fresh looks at the Timberwolves. I think you'll see some more of him down the stretch, especially if Anthony Edwards gets going in this one.
Don't forget, we will be on right after the game. Rhino and yours truly will have the post-game show. We'll be taking your calls, and hopefully we will light the beam right here on If You Don't Like That. But I'll tell you, for an opening night, and the fact that Minnesota already has played a game, which I think is to their advantage, there are a lot of positives in the first half from Sacramento, guys.
Totally agree. A lot of effort, certainly saw very unselfish play, and just, as Randall said, I think, pick the defense, pick those guys up. We saw that in the first part of the first quarter, where the Minnesota bigs were out on the floor, and you don't have to worry about those. They're not going to beat you off the dribble. So pressure the heck out of them.
Spot on, Jerry. And that Keegan Murray guy that everybody's worried about him eating and getting looks, he's creating his own. He's done that in the first 24 minutes. Really impressive.
The kid's going to be a baller, I'm telling you. He's on his way.
And he has the right personality for being a professional. And I mean that in all due respect, because as Jerry knows from his decades in the game and me doing 32 years, there are a lot of guys that have all the tools in the toolbox, but above the shoulders, they don't have what it takes. This guy's got the complete makeup. And I know a lot of people want to criticize his steadiness, not too emotional. I love that, actually. I think that's a really good thing to have. And so don't try to change someone's personality. Let Keegan be who he is. I don't see really any downside to his game at all. I would love to see him make more threes, but I'm nitpicking here. He does so many things for this team.
Yeah. I always tell people too, Grant, I mean, you make a great point on that, his composure on the floor, how he played. I said, if you don't like Keegan the way he plays, then you wouldn't like Tim Duncan.
Right.
Good grief.
Yeah. Right.
I think we might have some youngsters in the chat saying, Tim Duncan, who's that?
Yeah, maybe the best power forward of all time.
Jerry, you know who else was like that on the Kings? And he never changed, was Otis Thorpe.
Otis Thorpe, absolutely. Several two-time All-Star, and just played at a high level, and didn't feel like they needed to pound their chest to play.
All right, it's now that time. Our predictions with our final scores. We'll start with you, Mr. Ryan in Sacktown.
I think the Kings pull this one out. I think they get a lift from the crowd. You see some more movement in the second half. I'm going to say Sacramento 112, Minnesota 106.
Jerry?
I've got Sacramento 110, 108.
I've got the Kings winning 118 to 117. I think Minnesota, they certainly do not want to start off this season 0-2 with the high expectations, and the fact that they made a big move in trading an all-star in Karl Anthony Towns. If they get off to a bad start, the heat is going to fall on that organization. I think Minnesota's going to come out, and I think they're going to give the Kings all they can handle, but I like the Kings, but I think it's close. So I'm picking this one, the nail biter, and I'm taking Sacramento to win by a point.
Well, let's get it done, fellas.
Let's do it. Let's light the damn beam.
Jerry, we appreciate you being with us again this year, and we will talk to you at halftime Saturday when the Kings take on your second favorite team in the league, the LA Lakers.
Yeah.
He might come find you for that one right now, Napes.
Oh no, I'll be available for that. Don't worry. I can't wait. See you,
Jerry. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Oh, what a classic he is, huh?
He's
Man.
the best. Ready to go anytime.
Again, I like the fact that the Kings had such a good first quarter. You know, it's opening night. A lot of times you can start off a little slow. It's funny. I'm still getting text messages from the 0-5 preseason. No one gives a damn about the 0-5 preseason. Forget about it. It means nothing. All right. Your season starts tonight. So far, so good. But again, Ryan, I want to go back to consistency because we didn't have that last year. There would be a good half and then a really bad third quarter, or, I want to see this team be steady here in the second half.
Yeah, it's a great point, Grant. And I think we saw that a little bit in the second quarter. The Kings did go through a lull where they made one field goal in 6 trips down the court, and DeMar DeRozan slowed things down. So hopefully we don't see that albatross, that bad quarter that you keep speaking of.
All right. Second half, post-game show, all coming your way right here on If You Don't Like That. Ryan, we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Sounds good. And please give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. And make sure you're subscribed if you haven't already.
Bye-bye. Talk to you in an hour.